Coming up tonight, police are looking into what would make a 24-year-old, 30-week pregnant woman attempt to take her life. Stay tuned for details. Plus, a differently abled author gives his story and details on his 10th book. And our arts and entertainment segment features a Bahamian making waves in Hollywood. Jane Joseph is straight ahead with The Skinny as our news weekend starts now. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Berthany McDermott. A police-involved shooting is now in the hands of His Majesty's coroner. According to Police Press Liaison Officer Chief Superintendent Chrislyn Skippings, shortly before 4 p.m. this afternoon, officers, while on routine patrol at the intersection of Firetrail and Gladstone Road, observed a dark-colored Nissan Cube acting suspiciously. Attempts to stop the vehicle were unsuccessful and a chase ensued.
They attempted to stop the driver, however, he sped off at a high rate of speed. Thus, a chase ensued, which ended, in the Seven Hills area, where there was an exchange of gunshots, which resulted in the driver being shot fatally. At present, His Majesty's coroner is on scene. She is now taking charge of the investigations into this latest police-involved shooting. And so any further questions that you may have regarding this particular incident, I would wish that you direct them to His Majesty's coroner.
Police in Grand Bahama are looking into the attempted suicide of a 24-year-old, 30-week pregnant woman. Police say shortly after 11 a.m. Saturday morning, they got the call that the Linewood Lane resident attempted to hang herself with a wire while at home. Investigators tell us the woman also hit herself in the stomach with a hammer. Emergency medical services were called to the scene and took the victim to the hospital, where she is listed in serious but stable condition. Parts of Jamaica felt the effects of a 5.1 magnitude earthquake Saturday afternoon. At around 4:35 p.m., the epicenter was located 43 kilometers from Kingston. While there are currently no reports of deaths, Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell said he spoke with Bahamians there. He provided this update.
So I spoke to the student leader last evening, Steve Smith, who's at the Mona campus in Jamaica, and I also had a word with Alveda Knight, who is our consul in Jamaica. And what generally seems to have happened is somewhere around 4:36, it says, there was an earthquake tremor, which was felt in Kingston. The center seems to have been in the eastern parishes of Jamaica. Looks like a lot of rattling and shaking for most people describe it as only a few seconds, but it pretty much frightened everybody.
Effects of the quake were also felt in Haiti, the United States minor outlying islands, and Cuba. Mitchell says from all reports, Bahamians in Jamaica are doing okay.
It appears that everybody's well physically, a little shaken up psychologically. If there are any issues the students have, they can get in touch with Alveda. They also have our numbers, the Prime Minister's number, because PM spoke to them yesterday as well, and they can give me a call if there are any issues. But it appears that physically, at least, everybody's well. And we'll keep monitoring the situation to let people know how it's going.
President of Save Our Children Alliance, Siobhan Hollis, seeking to raise more awareness about training resources aimed at preventing child abuse. The certified facilitator, who currently resides in Bermuda, shares how the international partnership came about. Megan Shepard has the details.
I enrolled in the training because it was mandatory, and my life was just totally transformed. I advocated, I reached out to the trainer at that time, a lady named Debbie Ray Rivers, and I said, I would love for you to be my mentor. I would love to get certified in this, and I would love for this program to become a national recognized and a mandatory program in the Bahamas. So that's how this all started. It was from my training, me being transformed, my mind being changed, and my approach, my thinking, and my outlook on child rights and child protection in the Bahamas.
Hollis says while she is aware of groups that advocate on the behalf of children, she realized there was a greater need for organizations that focus on preventing the abuse from happening.
There are a lot of organizations and, like I said, modules and courses online as well as abroad. However, I didn't find at all any training that's ongoing, that's impactful, that's evidence-based in the Bahamas.
Since launching her organization over 2 years ago, she says she, along with her co-facilitators, have trained some 200 Bahamians.
Now, the national statistics states with this particular program is that if you can train at least 5% of adults, it is an adult-based training in child sexual abuse prevention, then you would have made some impact, because each one teach one. You know, if I know, I can tell you, you got to take this up. And that's how Bermuda was able to make an impact, because about 20% of all adults in Bermuda is trained in this program.
Thanks, Megan. Still to come on Our News Weekend, one PSPAP participant at Cable Bahamas tells us how his placement is part of a dream he's had since he was a teenager. Stay close for that. And Michael Wells, a differently abled author, now on his 10th book, gives us his story. All of that is coming up when Our News Weekend returns. Watching Our News Weekend, welcome back. This year's cohort of the Public Service Professional Engagement Program, also known as PSPAP, was the first to open applications to differently abled participants seeking work. In this report, Marlena Leonard spoke to one of the PSPAP participants at Cable Bahamas about how his placement is part of a dream he's had since he was a teenager.
Bianco Smith applied for the PSPAP program when it was announced that this year would include differently abled participants. He says he was excited when he found out he'd been placed with the Cable Bahamas group of companies.
I was always interested in engineering.
Now, after a few months of working in the company under his belt, Smith says,
"So far, it's wonderful. Everybody is nice and professional."
And the PSPAP participant says this program could be a big step toward a future in engineering, thanks to the learning and training opportunities here.
I would like to further my education so that I could be certified, hopefully one day.
But for now, Smith says even having the opportunity to work here is a dream coming to fruition.
When I was 18, I did enroll with Success Training College, but I didn't have an opportunity to finish the course. My course at the time was computer engineering, and now I'm in the engineering department, so I feel excellent about that.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Tonight, we're bringing you the story of one man who went from never going to school to writing hundreds of short stories. Now he's writing his 10th book. Our Marlena Leonard has the story of Michael Wells.
Because of Michael Wells' difficult birth and physical disability, many underestimated his capabilities in his early years. But even though he wasn't formally enrolled in a school, Wells found a unique way to teach himself. His friend and editor Leslie Spencer tells us,
he did learn by watching Sesame Street when he was sat on the sofa for so long. And eventually they put a unicorn stick on his head so he could pick out letters. Now we have, then we had a dot on his forehead. He picked out faster, and now we have facial recognition, which means that as he moves his head like this, it goes to an online keyboard and he can write his short stories.
Now, Michael Wells has written over 100 stories, has published 9 books since 2005, and is now working on his 10th. Michael communicates with me during his interview the same way he writes his stories, using facial recognition technology that allows him to type. When asked what inspires him to write and publish his books, the author tells us, to let people see what people with disabilities can do. He shows off his sense of humor, adding, "We don't just sit on our butts and look handsome." Wells' stories often include disabled characters, mystery, or people struggling with vices. His latest book, called What Fall? Bahamas Short Stories, is currently available at Logos, and Michael is aware of the power of his voice. When asked what he would say to the next generation of disabled people coming up, he tells us, "It's hard sometimes, and you feel like giving up, but don't. Keep trying, and you'll succeed with God's help. We have to show people what we can do." Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Thanks for that story, Marlena. Basketball player turned skills development coach, our Megan Shepherd, has that story in our Generation Next segment. And Dr. Mitchell is here to help you live your best life. To find out how, you have to stay close. The details are on the other side of the break when Our News Weekend returns. Weekend, welcome back. Tonight's Generation Next features a basketball player turned skills development coach. The Grand Bahama native tells her Megan Shepherd what started as a game he loved to play turned into a full-time career.
29-year-old Denzel Knowles is the founder and head coach of D1 Development Skills Training and 242 Elite Travel Basketball Club. Knowles started coaching in 2016 for a college internship and discovered that coaching had become a new passion.
In 2019, I started D1 Development, which is the basketball skill training. We focus a lot on the raw skills, not so much in-game development, but more so, like I say, the raw skills and body positioning and all the little minor details.
Then in 2020, he expanded to start 242 Elite, a travel basketball club. He explains what sets this group apart from other training programs.
We kind of treat it like a prep school program as they do in the States, where we film their games, we have practices, we get conditioning, we do film breakdowns, we try to travel at least twice a year. All these other little different things. We also try to expand on more than just basketball. We try to teach the kids about life, how to market themselves, how to carry themselves, what the world is like.
Whether they're winning tournaments, MVP awards, community awards, or receiving college acceptance letters, Knowles says every win and success of the team has been a highlight thus far. He shares what keeps him giving back.
This all started because when I was in school, I was making a lot of mistakes, doing a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing, focus on a lot of things I shouldn't have been focused on, and it just happened. I like to help people. So being knowledgeable in basketball, I think it was more of just a segue of me being able to get into the lives of the youths and give them a reason to trust me, so that I could kind of help them not make the mistakes that I was making back when I was in school.
Here's his advice on perseverance.
Usually when you put in the work, at first you don't see it. Like one of my coaches like to say, he says to the Bahamians so they can understand it a little better, they say, if you plant a mango seed today, do you expect to see the fruits tomorrow? And the answer obviously is no. So it's the same thing with being successful. You just have to keep putting in the work until eventually one day everything will turn around and it'll start coming in abundance.
Reporting for Our News Weekend Edition, I'm Megan Shepherd.
Dr. Duran Mitchell is a 32-year-old interventional pain specialist that has recently returned home to, as he put it, help you live your best life. Dr. Mitchell telling our Megan Shepherd why what he does is so important.
And what we do is less risky than surgery and oftentimes very effective for patients. Some of the patients that I like to work with are those patients that either don't want surgery, have too many medical comorbidities to get surgery, or just have a pathology in their body that's not amenable to surgery.
Dr. Mitchell says while working at a private practice internationally, he reached out to local anesthesiologists and realized there was a need for his services here.
So I've been working 7 to 8 weeks now. I've had some really great results, and I couldn't be more ecstatic to find that, this is what I do, this is my career, this is my passion, and I get to do it right here at home.
He says since returning home, he has come to realize that most Bahamians don't like taking medication or taking them as directed.
Take them from a 10 to a 3 out of 10 pain-wise or less, and we use medication to kind of maintain you at that level. I think people associate taking medications every day with addiction, but the medications that I use are non-addicting medications. You can't become addicted to these medications. They have a low-risk profile, and they work really, really well to help people maintain their pain levels or be pain-free.
Another part of the Bahamian culture Dr. Mitchell is working to shift is the tendency to live with pain instead of seeking treatment.
Like, life is hard enough. You don't need to live life and also be in pain. I'm a specialist in this field. This is why I came back, to help people live their best lives. I think a lot of the patients that I see live in chronic pain. They've had pain for years. No one has been able to get their pain levels under control, and a lot of times these people can't work, they can't enjoy times with their kids, so they're suffering a lot. Their quality of life is down. So what's gratifying is when I see a patient, do an evaluation, do an intervention, and they're able to get their quality of life back.
Thanks, Megan. Hot days and hot nights. The weather forecast is on its way, and the Bahamian is living her best life and making waves in Hollywood. Our Jane Joseph caught her latest move. Check out our arts and entertainment segment coming up with Our News Weekend returns from this break. Weekend. The weather is definitely heating up. Let's find out what's in store for us over the next few days. Many people dream of making it big and starring in movies, but Denisha Dean took a leap of faith, shooting for the moon and landing in the Hollywood stars. Join our Jane Joseph as he chats with Denisha about her new role in the upcoming Sony biopic, Big George Foreman.
They say fate without work is dead, but Denisha Dean worked toward her acting dream and is now a TV and movie actress with roles in several commercials and the Tyler Perry series. When Denisha left the Bahamas, it was only to secure supplies for her photography business at a trade show in Las Vegas, but her plans changed with a cousin's invitation to Los Angeles.
my cousin invited me to LA, which was only a 45-minute flight from Vegas, and I went there, and it was a party, and it was a celebrities party, and I just remember being in that room and being inspired by everybody who was there pursuing and being successful in the industry that they were in, and that was enough to inspire me to make that jump and to stay. And I actually sent everything home to my cousin who was helping me operate the business at the time, and I stayed in the US for a year and a half, and I just committed myself to studying, to classes, and that was my initial jump.
Denisha sees the rewards now, but says the road to stardom was rocky.
It was rough. It was really rough. But after I got the swing of it and into classes and started getting recommendations to other classes to take and starting meeting more people, I had enough courage to go out and start booking jobs. And so I would work on local commercials, and then I eventually landed national commercials, and I worked with Tyler Perry. I've worked, on major TV.
Denisha has since graduated to the big screen. Her latest role portrays her as the love interest of George Foreman in the upcoming Sony Pictures biopic, Big George Foreman, in theaters at the end of April.
I play a beautiful distraction to George at a time when he travels to Jamaica during his legendary fight with Joe Frazier. So you'll see me on screen for a dynamic scene.
Denisha says while she is excited for everyone to see a Bahamian on the big screen, the story is important to everyone.
Right, George Foreman, he's such an impressive man. He's a two-time heavyweight champion. He's an entrepreneur. He quit boxing to become a pastor. Just his story alone is such an inspiration and truly one of those comeback stories that just inspires you. So I think I just can't wait to see the entire thing come together. And also, I'm excited to see me on the big screen too. So I'm looking forward to that.
Denisha is excited, and you should be too. Make sure to see Big George Foreman in theaters beginning April 28th. For Our News Weekend Arts and Entertainment, I'm Gene Joseph.
It is my destiny to win the heavyweight championship belt again. Last time they saw me, I looked like Superman.
So now you look like the Michelin Man. This ain't no beauty contest.
Thank you for joining us for Our News Weekend. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Berthany McDermott. Have an excellent and productive week ahead.